there's a little like pivot that I want to do here as we talk about, or I talk to you all a lot about this community and growing this community. The organization, the Digital Identity Advancement Foundation, is doing fantastic work in bringing new folks into the identity and authentication industry. And at FIDO Alliance and Authenticate, we are big supporters of DIAF. So please help me welcome Arynn Crow to give you an update on DIAF.
You all are enjoying San Diego as much as I've been. Thank you for coming and listening to my talk this morning. I know that we're anxious to get to break, but I'll be talking about growing the community with DIAF. I'm Arynn Crow. I'm the Director of Governance and Transparency for the Digital Identity Advancement Foundation, which is the much longer version of that nice short acronym. So we've talked a little bit already today about community, but really what do we mean when we talk about community and identity? Because most of us probably wouldn't consider our colleagues and our coworkers to be part of our personal communities, but time and time again, I find that people feel a little bit different in our niche of the industry. You're just as likely to be walking down the hallway and hear people talking about what's new in the world of passkeys or unverifiable credentials as you are what they got into or what mischief their kids have been up to in the last couple of months since they were just seeing each other at a previous event, giving each other hugs, and just generally there's a big sense of camaraderie. And I think this is because communities are made up of common bonds. In identity, the central thing that brings us together and the foundation of our bond is the desire to realize a better, safer internet. That's why we're willing to fly hundreds or sometimes even thousands of miles to debate the most minute details of what's in a new technical standard or what is the best implementation guidance. It's because ultimately everybody is here because we really care about paving a better future for ourselves, for our kids, and for everybody around us. And I think this is an absolutely amazing quality about our industry, but it does come with some challenges. And one of the challenges that we've been preoccupied with at DIAF is, in a community that's this small and tight-knit, how do we bring in new people and make sure that they feel like they're set up for success, like they're part of the community, and like we're ready and willing to receive them? That first step of getting your foot in the door can be quite a challenge sometimes, and these barriers show up in different places. I'll pick on some data points from this recent 2024 ID Pro Skills Survey to illustrate this. So 78% of ID Pro's respondents had a tenure of 6 years or greater, which is just amazing. But then, when we looked at how do people feel about their proficiency in identity, only 27% out of even those very tenured respondents felt like they were proficient in identity, which I think is actually a little bit heartbreaking. And then when we looked at gender diversity, less than 20% of respondents were women, and I think even less than 1% identified as transgender or non-binary. So looking at this data together, we know that we have a lot more work to make an inclusive environment within our community and make sure that people feel welcomed and set up for success. And these are a few of the reasons why we started the Digital Identity Advancement Foundation. DIAF's mission as an organization is to unblock barriers to participation, especially financial ones, and ensure that new people have a path in to create new ties within this community. One of the primary ways that we can help introduce people to identity is by getting them into premier events like Authenticate, where they can meet and learn from others. But if you're just starting out, getting here isn't always easy if you don't have a corporate sponsor behind you. So we have 2 different award programs that help provide access to these events through merit and need-based awards. The first one is the Kim Cameron Award, which honors the legacy of Kim Cameron, who was also very obsessed with this question of how do we promote newcomers within the industry. This award in particular focuses on people that are very new in their careers, or maybe they've just switched into identity from a different career, maybe they're students or recent grads, and it helps them go to programs like Identiverse, European Identity Cloud Conference, IAW, and a couple of others. And then second, we have the Vittorio Bertocci Award, which honors the late Vittorio Bertocci, who passed away far too early, late last year, but also who obsessed over this question of how do we get more people engaged in what is sometimes affectionately known as the dark arts of digital identity standards? This program is a little bit different. It focuses more on tenured professionals and allows them to create basically a structured plan of study that they can use to go to different digital identity standards events, academic conferences, et cetera, and continue their critical work of building the internet without having to worry about self-funding or barriers to access through finances. And these are really big problems to solve, but this is just our first year, actually. If you were here at Authenticate last year, you might have heard Ian Glazer announce the formation of our organization. But we've been very busy in that past year, and I wanted to share a little bit about what we've done so far. So first, we had our first ever round of the KCA Awards since taking over the program from the OpenID Foundation, and we were able to send 5 different awardees to events around the globe this year. We were able to send Sophie and Matt to Identiverse, and we also sent Raj and Supreet to EIC. And then next, I wanted to give a special shout out to our 5th awardee, Grace, who is sitting here in the audience today at Authenticate. Big special thank you to the FIDO Alliance for enabling Grace to be here as well this year. We're very proud and happy to have Grace here. I think that with her background in privacy and international human rights law, she has a lot to offer us in the bigger dialogue about digital identity. So please do say hello to her or reach out to her on LinkedIn. Next, we had our first ever round of the VBA Awards. And here, we were able to send, or we will be sending, 3 different professionals to their events. We've got Jen, who focuses on SCIM, who's going to be attending IETF events in 2025. We've got Federico, who will be presenting his own academic research on self-sovereign identity at the International Conceptual Modeling Conference next year. And then finally, we have Eric, who is an enthusiastic newcomer who will be joining his first IIW this fall. I want to take a moment to give a really special thank you, very much sincerely from the bottom of our hearts, to all of our partners that have made this first year possible, from the event partners who have graciously provided admission to their events, as well as to all the individual donors and just everybody who's given us guidance and moral support over this past year. So we think we found a good crucial starting point to getting more folks involved in the industry, but we don't think that our work is done here, of course. So I want to give a little bit of a preview about what problems we're going to be focusing on next year. First, we were really satisfied actually with the geographic diversity of the applicants that we received. We got applications all the way from Sudan to Bhutan to Brazil and everywhere in between. And out of all those applications, we were able to send awardees from the UK, the US, Brazil, India, and Bhutan. But we'd like to extend our reach further and add even more areas, even more green areas to this map, particularly in Africa and Asia, because we just want to make sure that there is global reach for the different opportunities that we're facilitating. We also think that gender diversity is still an area of opportunity. So we had about 50% of our KCA applicants this year were women, which was great. Only about 33% of our VBA applicants were women, though, and unfortunately, we didn't have any representation in our applicants from the transgender or non-binary communities. So while in the context of the kind of disproportionate representation of women in cybersecurity and identity means that this 33% figure is not so bad in that scheme of things, we still think that we have more work that we can do. We can do a bit better on this figure and improve our outreach. I'm very excited about this next part because we recognize that there are more ways to get engaged in identity than through conferences alone. Those opportunities are very important, but we potentially need to be reaching even further up in the funnel to be getting people earlier in their careers or before they're even thinking about their careers to make sure that they understand identity is an opportunity for them. So earlier this year, we started outreach to a couple of prospective university partners to begin discussing how can we start working through our programs in such a way that it'll be beneficial to their students. We'll have more to share on this in the future, but in the meantime, if you're sitting in the crowd and you have a connection in academia or ideas and feedback in this regard, we'd love to hear from you so we can get some additional ideas about how we can make this really useful in university context. As we start to bring it to a close, really important to us, I want to acknowledge that 100% of the funding that we've had and the support that we've had comes from within the identity community, either from individuals within the community or from different corporations that are aligned specifically to identity. And that support has been really important. But the continued support from our community is going to be essential as we look forward to our mission and the way that we want to grow this organization over the coming year. So if you're interested in supporting DIAF, you can follow this QR code or this link to go donate, or even just sharing our information with others is something that we really appreciate. And if you want to keep up to date with what our next award cycles or other events that we may be participating in, you can follow us on LinkedIn, you can follow us on X, and you can visit our blog for more information. So finally, we're a very small team behind the scenes. It's just Ian, Alan, and myself, and we'd like to take one more moment to say thank you to our community, and we greatly appreciate your time. Have a great Authenticate.